Hey folks, it's Nick. It's just fixing to be summer here in Texas, so we're out on property near Paris putting up these ventilation fans, and on the other side we're going to put up a shutter. So in this video we're going to show you how to put on the installation kit, mount the fans, a couple little tips and tricks to help keep you cool during the summer. So to install either the intake shutter or the powered fan like we did on the other side, a couple of key concepts. We're simply installing a rail for the fans to rest on and then to have a solid surface to mount the screw onto. To accomplish that, we have these end rail clamps. The end rail clamps are basically a clamshell that wraps around the verticals that we have on our end walls and accepts another piece of horizontal pipe going across. It's sandwiched into place. We level it up at the top as far as it'll go, and then we measure for the fan. These are 24 inches. We come down and we put another bar. This allows us to put screws to hold them in, and then we simply lock channel around. So whenever we put the plastic up, we can lock channel tight all the way and then just cut out the holes to let the fresh air in and let the hot air out. And then inside the kit itself, you'll have the end rail clamps, you'll have carriage bolts, and a little bit of self-tappers to help secure everything. Here we go. So the tools that you're going to need for this project: something to cut the metal with, a drill with a 1/4-inch nut driver, a level, preferably one with a magnetic strip, 2 clamps, the ladder behind me, a ratchet with a 1/2-inch drive, at least 3 tape measures, 2 to lose, 1 to use, and a little bit of tape or zip ties to do a little cable management for the powered fan. Okay, so I'm above the door right now. This is the top of the hoop. The whole purpose is to get the fresh air intake up as high as possible. And that's basically going to happen from the top of the vertical to the top of the vertical. There'll be a little gap here, not worried about that so much. Again, that fan right there, it's about 10, 12 pounds. It's not that heavy, but you do want a solid surface. Something, the end wall does have a lot of force against it, especially out here on top of this hill. And so we're going to begin by measuring from side to side. And that's going to give us 74 5/8. We'll get to cutting. I'm going to assume that a lot of you are going to be working on your own, so I'm going to show that. If you have a partner, it's going to be much easier. You'll know where to use them. But when I go upstairs, I'm going to clamp this on. I'm going to put the pipe in, secure it a little bit, and then I'm going to fold it into place and attach the other side. It seems to work out real well. May have to move the ladder a little bit, given that that's such a wide span. Depends on how tall you are, how much wing room you got. So let's go see what it looks like. Okay, so just so you know, we are working in a little bit unique situation. We're doing some shade cloth videos. Normally the shade cloth wouldn't be up here, so for everybody that's smarter than we are, you want to point that out. We're well aware of it. Back to the build. Again, I'm going to clamp this side. I want to make sure that the bolt is going on the inside. I want to keep the outside of the high tunnel as smooth as possible. Clamshell around, I'm going to secure it. I'm going to leave it a little loose. And I'm going to stick this other side in, and I'm going to be careful to go ahead and put the screw that we put on the pole itself just to hold them together with that bolt facing the outside as well. Now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up quite a bit, just kind of finger tight at this point, because I do want to be able to move it as we make our final adjustments. I can swing that over there. You see, it looks perfect. I'm just going to take the other side. So again, I know I'm going to want this bar up as high as possible, so I'm going to slide it up. Okay, now that I'm ready to slide this into place, I'm going to move it over. 1 clamshell on one side, 1 clamshell on the other. The bolt going through and resting on the inside of the high tunnel. I'm going to hand tighten it. Now we're going to start working on level. I'm going to slide it up, and I'm going to secure one side before I move to the other, knowing full well I may have to come back and do a little adjustment. Okay, so that side's on pretty good, just about level. Now we're level. I'm going to finish tightening it up. If you notice on the clamp, there's a little hole. Now we can secure just another little safety number 8 self-tap in there, really just to make us feel better. I don't think it's fully necessary, but the hole's there. We have plenty of self-tappers laying around. Let's go ahead and secure just a little bit. One little quick note on the durability and sturdiness of these rails. You're going to have 2 of these rails. Each one of those rails is going to support roughly half the weight of the fan hanging, holding it up. Our biggest fan, 36 inches, with the shutter, with the motor, everything is about 77 pounds. That's 77 pounds distributed twice between the 2 rails and 4 times between the 2 connectors. Now, the friction alone is more than enough to hold that up. We talked a little bit about the safety self-tapper here, just in case it made you feel better. If you continually want to feel even better about it, you're more than welcome to put a self-tapper in here. It's your house, it's your choice. There's not a hole, feel free to drill it. Self-tapper will work. I'm 180 pounds, 185 if I got a milkshake in me, and as you can see, the bar holds me just fine, and that's just one bar. So if you want to do it, have at it. So I know the dimension of what I need to box out on the shutter is 24 inches. So I'm going to come down, I'm going to do 24 1/8. I'm just going to give myself a little bit of wiggle room because I got like 1.5 inches to 2 inches all the way around worth of fudge. So I don't want, this is aluminum shutters, I don't want to have to bang it in. So I want it to fit a little loose. Same thing on this side, 24 plus an eighth. So now I have a mark. I put it right in the center of the pole because I'm making my adjustment here, and that way I'll be able to see it. Just like up top and on the other side, take my clamshell, I'm going to put it around the vertical pole. I'm going to take the nut, I'm going to push it through the other side. I'm going to tighten it down before I lose it. I'm going to take the extension pole, slide it in, last little finger tight, and I'm going to go to the other side. I've got my 24-inch mark here, clamshell around, slide it into place, put the nut in, finger tight, take the level. I can already see my mark, so I know I'm right on the money. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this side down, come back here in a second, put in that security screw. This side has slid down quite a bit, loosen it up. Slide it up, check level. Okay, now that that's done, I'm gonna go to the other side, do those 2 little screws, and then we'll put the shutter directly in the middle, and we'll show you how to attach that. On the shutter, this bar is going to go on the inside. Now we're looking at the outside. I'm gonna flip it around. I'm gonna use the ridge pole as an indicator that this is dead center. I have these rivets on the shutter, so that's dead center. I'm gonna place it there, and I'm gonna clamp it into place. Now that we're clamped into place, I'm gonna move my ladder around and install some self-tappers to hold that thing in. So there is steel gussets on here. Feel free to go through those or through the aluminum. I prefer the steel, you just have a little bit more strength. Okay, we have self-tappers on every single one. I'm verifying that the shutter is opening up. Later on, if we need to hold this open or talk about the negative pressure, which we really can't do until the plastic is on and the other fan is in operation, but basically it's going to open up like that. We need to go to the other side and install the lock channel for that whole plastic install. So we'll go around to the other side now. All right, so the next concept to think about is this is basically a window. It's gonna open up, it's gonna need fresh air. So we need to secure the plastic or have a way to secure the plastic all the way around. So what we're going to do is run a piece of lock channel on both horizontals all the way, and then right here, and then this horizontal is naturally going to have it anyway. And what you're going to find is in the next video, if you'll go ahead and subscribe, you won't miss it. As we're putting the plastic on, each one of those places where we have lock channel means that the plastic on the end wall gets tighter and tighter and tighter. But for this, we're going to go right into the aluminum frame, aluminum on aluminum, goes in super easy. We just place that right there. Now, a little note, we have about 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches worth of tail here. I want you to put that right on the very end because as you have the lock channel, you want to be kind of far away from this. It's already naturally protected from the wind. Next, we're going to go ahead and put these verticals on. We'll see you at the end. Okay, as we get to the end of the horizontal pieces, I'm not going to put one right in the end rail clamp. It's close enough to the end. I'm not worried about it being insecure or anything like that, but this is a much more hardened steel than what we're going into. So just come just to the end of it as close as you can without actually having to work through that steel, and it's just not necessary. So I'm holding the back bar right now, making sure that we didn't bend anything or need to do any maintenance while we're up here. Of note, every little part back there in which that bar is and it swings and things like that, it's probably good to go ahead and lubricate that now, a little bit of WD-40, and again, a couple of times throughout the year just to make sure that doesn't get loose and squeaky and that kind of thing. In the next video, we're going to talk a little bit about the operation of the fan, and we're going to go over this entire hoop house build in totality. So please subscribe so you don't miss that. So if you have any questions about ventilation, please leave a comment in the link below. And we also have a link to one of our articles that talks about the ventilation in depth. And we'll see you on the next video.